Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Jacob Portman from Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Home for Children. And for this pattern you're going to need some dark green, dark blue, brown of one or two shades. Skin tone, I would suggest something paler, and for the eyes you can use beads or bands. I'm just going to do this with a couple of bands this time. You'll also want a C-clip. It's good to have an extra one on hand just in case too, and a couple of hooks, your loom, and the offset configuration. So let's start with the arms. We're going to take 2 skin tone bands, put them on the end of the hook, and wrap 1, 2, 3 times. Pull that onto double skin tone bands. And grab green for your sleeve, and we're going to put 7 sets of double green bands on. So that's 1 set, 2, bring these a little closer here, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Second arm, same thing. Wrap 1, 2, 3 times with the skin tone. Pull onto double skin tone bands and 7 sets of double green bands. And last one. For the legs, we take 2 brown bands, wrap 1, 2, 3 times on the hook, pull onto 2 more of that same color, replace, take 1 band of that color, wrap it on the end of the hook 3 times, or if you want it to be a little extra tight, and slide your first piece so that the wrapped one sits in the middle. This will go on to 2 bands, same color, and 2 bands again. If you're having a hard time with this, you can simply wrap a band and then put it onto 3 sets of doubles. From here, I just counted, I'm going to double check because now I've forgotten. I think we've got 8 blues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 sets of double blue bands. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Let's make the other leg. Take 2 browns, wrap them on your hook. 1, 2, 3. Pull it onto 2, not too stretched out, bands of the same color. Other side back on. We're going to push this over just a little bit and then take a single, wrap it on, 1, 2, 3. I'm doing an extra one because that band's a little stretchy. Pull one side over so that it sits in the middle. This goes on to 2 bands. And onto 2 bands again. Back to blue, 9 sets of doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. We're going to come to the loom next. And you want it so that you kind of have little C's right in front of you. That way you'll know it's facing the right way. We're going to start with 2 blues. Come from the top center to the second peg down. 2 blues from the second center to the second right. 2 blues from the second center to the second left. And then we're going to go down. Let me count this for you here. 3, 4, 5 times with double blue bounds in the middle, starting at the second peg down. And that takes you to your 7th peg in the middle row. And then we're going to do 1 doubled over brown to match your shoe. So to double it over, take a single, stretch, twist, bring it back on top. This is going to come down from the 7th center peg to the 8th center peg. And then we've got 1 more set of double blues coming down from there. On either row, we're going to come down and we're going to repeat the same thing. So it's going to be 5 sets of double blues starting at the second peg down. And then we'll have that doubled over single brown, and then we'll have another set of double blues. Hold this up for you just a second here. So that's the first 2 we've done, and then the last row on the side. Another 5 sets of double blue. Doubled over single brown. And 1 more set of double blue. Right, next up we need our holding bands, and each holding band is going to consist of a single blue band. Take your blue, stretch it across from the 3rd peg on one side to the 3rd on the other, and bring it up over the 3rd peg in the center. You should see a triangle formed. We'll do the same on the 4th pegs, 5th pegs, and the 6th pegs, and all the way to the bottom. So we stop, you'll actually stop when you get to the bottom of the figure, which is your 8th peg down is the last one that will see a triangle. We're going to take a, let's pull up my picture here. We're going to take 2 blue bands, put them on the end of the hook, pull through 1 leg, and bring this from your 9th peg down on one side to the 9th peg down at the center. Basically, we're just putting it on the last pegs that we've used. Repeat for the other leg for the other side. And we're going to do a cap band. So take a blue, and if you count up from the bottom of your loom, you're going to the 5th peg up where the legs are sitting. Put your band on. You're going to twist and wrap about 3 times. Now your arms can go onto your 2nd pegs down. So take the loops that are on the hook, transfer those, all of them in order, onto the 2nd peg down, flip it and repeat, and then we can make our coat before we loop up. So the coat is done in the form of a side extension, and we are going to take a single green. Have to bear with me here for a minute, it's been a while since I designed this. I've been waiting on my brown band, so now we're good to go. We've got a single green wrap 1, 2, 3 times, and this will go onto 2 green bands, And give me 1 second to count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need another 8 sets of double green bands, I believe. So that's 1, 2, and that means the total is going to be 9 if you count the whole chain after. 3, 4, 5, 6, 'So altogether we should have 9, and we're going to put the top part onto the peg with the arm. That's your second one down. If you're more comfortable, you can put this under the arm. It should be okay like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the end of the chain. There's that cap band that we wrapped. We're going to skip the next set, and we're going to put our hook into the one above that. Yeah. Take your hook and stretch it to that 8th peg down where you put your leg, and put those bands on top. And then we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of the link in between. And from each of those, you want to grab one piece of the band from closer to the inside and bring it over each of the pegs that's in between. And we're going to try to do this without twisting things too much. Okay, let's make one for the other side. Take your single, wrap it 3 times. I'm going to do mine extra tight because it's another stretchy band. And pull onto 9 sets of double green bands. We'll do them all together this time. This is 6, 7, 8, 9. Turn your loom around and pop the top chain onto your loom over the arm. Just lost a second. There you go. Press it down so it doesn't pop up. Look at the end. Find your wrapped band, the next space, and then the space above that is where you want to get inside. We're going to bring that down onto the piece with the leg. It's a bit of a stretch. And then grab a little section out of each link to pull over the pegs that are in between. We're getting almost ready to loop up the body. So we're going to reach, this is, for what it's worth, this is probably the hardest part of this whole thing. We're going to go under the cap band in the center on the last peg that we used. Find the top 2 bands, bring them up and over onto the right 8th peg down. We're going to go back inside in the middle, get the next 2, carefully loop them over to the one closest to you, the peg closest to you. The 8th, oh, this is the 9th peg down on the 8th side, on the left side. Go back in the middle one more time and you can loop up until you reach the 2nd peg from the top. Or if you want, you can stop at the 3rd peg down and then fill that in after. Okay. Next up, come to the side closest to you. You can see there's a bottom line of bands, and that's what we want to get. So you can use your hook or your finger, if you need to pull those bands to the side. You're going to take the open part of your hook, point it towards the top, like upwards, away from you. Press back everything until you can grab those bottom 2 blues, wiggle them around, and put them onto the next peg. And we're going to repeat this, and you're going to get the doubled over brown. Push back, repeat, get your next blues, and loop until you reach the arm. You can pretty well just ignore those greens, just watch that you're not looping them up or off as you go. They're just there to be pushed out of the way. We're going to reach inside on that second peg down for the bottom 2 blue, and loop those until they're on the second center peg. Second peg down on the center. And loop up on the far side. We're doing the same thing here. Bottom bands only all the way. And except for on that doubled over brown, all the rest of these should be 2 blues that you're pulling up. And grab the bottom 2 blues from inside the arm and loop up one more time in the middle. Bottom 2 blues, bring them forward. You want to hold on to the bands in the top center peg. You can put them on a hook or a C-clip if you'd like, and the rest of the body can be removed. Start at the top and use the back of your hook to push this up. I say the back of the hook because if you try to scoop it up with the front, you're gonna just catch the bands and get really tangled. Not that that's, I mean, you can get untangled too, but it's easier when your back part is pointed in the way that you're removing the bands. When you've got most of the body off, you can put your hook through the bands on the top center peg and pull off. Give everything a little adjustment, and if you have any loose bands, this is a good time to tighten them up. I'm wondering if I doubled over the bands originally. I'll make an annotation that gives you the option. If you do have any loose bands, you can weave them in and pop them on a C-clip. Otherwise, we're going to turn this so that... Oh, this is good. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the loom, and we're going to make the face now. Just going to get a hold of my design here. We are starting with our brown colored bands for the hair. I'm using a darker shade this time. Come down top center to top right with 2 bands. Top center to top left with 2, and come down one or twice on either side with 2 brown bands. No, once on either side. Once on each row. I forgot my second set is going to go on top. I'll show you what I mean right away. I'm just looking at the picture, it looks like there's 2, but we have skin tone actually just below. 2 sets of double skin tone bands on either side. And 3 sets of double skin tone bands coming down the middle. One more. Take 2 skin tones from your 4th right to your 5th center, and 2 from the 4th left to the 5th center. Single skin tone, twist, double over, stretch across your 2nd pegs down. And another one, stretch it across your 4th pegs down. So 2 triangle bands, you've got a gap in between. And on the intermediate one, the middle one, that's where your eyes are going to go. So if you're using beads, you can put them onto your hook and then onto a single skin tone together, or you can put them onto a needle and thread or a thin wire or a piece of floss and thread them on. I'm going to use bands this time. I've just got a light blue. I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3 times. Push it over. Second one, wrap 1, 2, 3. So whatever kind of eyes you have, you want to get them both onto a single skin tone. To do this with the bands, we simply slide them over the end of the hook. Stretch that from your 3rd peg down to your 3rd peg down on the opposite side. Oops. Stretchy, stretchy. There we go. Get your hook in between and separate and put one side, I gotta use my little hook, one side of that band over the peg above, which is your third center peg. And that part's easier to do when you have beads because they slide nicely, but we're gonna just stick with the bands this time. Take your body and put it onto the fifth peg down. And one more thing before we loop, we're gonna take 2 brown bands, and I'm actually gonna give you an option or an idea here. If you want the head to be a little bit rounder at the top, you can put 2 brown bands from the first peg to the second peg on either side. And then if you want the kind of sideburns, which is what I'm gonna do, you put 2 bands, brown bands, from the second peg down to the third peg down. So you don't have to have any bands at all, they're on top. If you want this little roundness, this is what you do. If you want it to be more rounded on top, then you can put a second set of brown just above. Now we want this to kind of stay in nice and tight, so we're gonna take, oh, let's do this, do a set on the other side as well. Second peg to third peg. And I'm gonna take a single skin tone and bring it across the third pegs down again. That cinches things in a little bit better. Okay, go under the neck piece, find your top 2 bands, and they should be going to the right. So let me just stretch this out so we can see everything better. Now if you need to, this will stretch your bands a little, but you can put your neck under a nearby peg to get it out of the way more. Okay, our top 2 are going to the left actually. I just still want to make sure I'm getting the right ones. There you go. Next 2 are going over to the right side, and the last 2 are going up forward. And we're going to loop up once on each row, moving forward 2 bands each time. I'd like at this point to release the tension on the neck so it doesn't get too stretchy while it's sitting there. And I'm going to loop up the rest of the way on the center, so I'm going to that third peg down and looping up twice. And on our sides now, this is a little bit tricky, but I'll walk you through it. We're going to go to the third peg down on the side, push away the skin tone, loop the brown forward. Now you're going to see there's that holding band coming across. There are 2 bands that are sitting on top of that, or 3 I guess. You're going to take them and pull them over to the side. Okay? So now the top band on this row is that holding band coming across. There's nothing above it. Take your hook, put it through the brown bands, and pull it off and to the side. And then we're going to go into that third peg down, loop up the skin tone once, put the brown bands back on, and loop to the top. And last thing is loop inwards to the middle. I'm just going to loosen this up a little bit on this side because my loom's a little bit weaker again. Wear and tear, right? Now on the opposite side, we're going to do the same thing. Go for your top browns under the skin tone. So that's 1, and that's 2. We're going to look for that holding band that's going across and bring the bands over it out onto the side. Well, I guess this one should stay in here. That one we want to keep. Okay, we're going to take the browns off to the side, and I'm going to do this just with one hand here. Loop forward and replace. Which is a little harder to do on this angle. I think I better turn this around. And loop up one more time to the top from inside that second peg down and into the middle. And take a single brown band, get it ready on your left hand. First 2 fingers is good. Take your hook and put the open part away from you, push through the bands on your top center peg and pull. So you're going to put this single on the end of your hook with a little tension, pull that up and through. As you're coming up, you want the open part to be pointing upwards. Put the other side on, pull one side over the other to create a slip knot. You can hold on to this with your hand, with your hook, or a C-clip, and we're going to remove from the loom. Now if you've used white beads and you want to draw on pupils at this point, you can do that. Otherwise, you just want to find your front side where the eyes are showing best. Give everything a little stretch. Turn to the back. Go under maybe your top skin tone bands here, just at the back. Make sure you can see that. Put your brown securing band on and slide it under. And you can weave it in a little tighter if you want to. And then we're going to put that onto a C-clip. Put the other side just under a nearby band so it doesn't flop. Turn them around. And your Jacob Portman is done. Now I have Emma Bloom and Miss Peregrine out already, and I am hoping to get more of the set done in the next little while. I'm working on a few sets, but for now, have a look at the playlist, and thank you for watching.